Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation as I wait for the PowerPoint to come up. This is really quite an honor for me to be able to share with you the focus of my particular mayor, Alvin Brown, makes it quite enjoyable to have this particular job in that he has championed the use of technology and the increase of transparency to the citizens. So what I'm going to do is to talk about what doesn't get talked about enough, and that is some of the difficulty that you have with the city employees themselves embracing the technology and being able to use that information and push that out to the public. And then we will show you some ways as to how we are accomplishing that, as well as some citizen-facing projects that the mayor, in fact, just announced last week. So that's essentially the roadmap that we're going to follow. And the importance of this particular administration is the idea of using technology and open data to drive the strategy of the administration. And that is, we have had a series of mayors in the past who have created performance management systems, but they weren't necessarily connected to the actual vision of the city or necessarily connected to the job function of the individual team member. And so one of the ways that we've tried to deal with this is to show the individual team member, that is the employee, how his or her job function relates to the overall vision of the city, and do so in a way where the public can see how it is that we're organizing our day-to-day work so that they can become more invested in how it is that we deliver citizen services. City of Jacksonville is a consolidated city. That is, there is no county government. The county and the city government is the same. We have a strong mayor form of government, and there is the legislative branch called the city council. There are 19 members of our city council, and all of them in some way or shape believe they're also the mayor. So we have 20 different individuals that we interact with in terms of information gathering and providing information to their districts. And I work in this triangle portion here, along with our CIO, Usha Mohan, who deal with city operations. And so one of the ways that we've dealt with the idea of how do you increase transparency and involve the public in the process is to use information technology as a strategy, not merely as a service. And that has taken some getting used to by our various city departments. But in engaging information technology as a strategy, you can see, if you blow up the screen just a little bit, how much information technology interacts with all of the other areas of the government. Our constitutional officers, which are our sheriff, property appraiser, tax assessor, our independent authorities, which would be our electric authority, our airport authority, our seaport, our school board, as well as interacting with the state functions, our state attorney, courts, etc. All of those entities need the information technology division to interact with them to increase their efficiency. And so that's the model that we've chosen. So the City of Jacksonville vision has been the same for the last 25 years, making it the most effective and efficient government, place to live, work, and raise a family. And so the question is, how do you contextualize that vision that we've been living with for the past 25 or so years with this particular mayor's administrative priorities, of which there are 6, 2 of which are our focus in this presentation, that is increasing the effectiveness and efficiency of government, as well as making City Hall more open, more welcoming to all. And in taking those twin administrative priorities, we have developed a system that allows the senior leadership to think about the impact of providing more information and use that information to measure employee activity, to measure their success in delivering citizen services, collect that information, and allow that to be pushed out to the public in a way that helps us refine the way that we deliver those services. And so the first piece of technology that we've developed, we call JAX Ops for Jacksonville Operations, is our internal performance management tool. Using a dashboard type process, we have made the directors responsible for 100% of this employee performance management system, which we call a scorecard. Those who report to them, which are called division directors, are responsible for 20% of the overall scorecard plus 80% of their own. And as you see, it cascades down to the employee. So the employee can see how his or her job function inures to the benefit of the administration's priorities, which inures to the benefit of the City of Jacksonville mission. And we believe that this constant engagement of our employees will help break down some of the silos about, well, I don't want to share my information with you, or it's going to reduce my job security, and those kinds of questions that we overcome by trying to make this information much more successful or accessible. We're using SharePoint BI, a readily available technology that's available to essentially anyone to develop this by linking the division scorecards to the department scorecards using the mayor's priorities, which you saw on the previous screen, linked with 5 objectives, which include operational excellence, customer service satisfaction, innovation, financial metrics, and talent metrics that are scored or normalized across all of our departments over 1,000 points with minimum targets, maximum targets, and then the midpoint. And we are focused on moving away from counting beans to outcomes. How do you perform your services over a particular percentage increase, et cetera, we think gives much more of a buy-in of the team member over the individual number of permits that you've issued, et cetera. And so again, you take a look at the city's priorities and see how that cascades to the department, to the division, back to the team member, and then all of this information is reported inward-facing through this scorecard, and then ultimately manifests itself in our outward-facing dashboards. The second piece of information we have is called JAX Analytics. It is our customer care system where individuals report in potholes and all sorts of different things that may be wrong in their individual districts. And what we've done with this particular tool is we're beginning to train our council members, their assistants, and various team members throughout the city. The City of Jacksonville has roughly 8,000 or so employees, and about 5,000 or so in particular interact with this particular software. And eventually, we are going to move this to a public-facing portion of our dashboard. But this information comes in through email, phone call. We're able to track that. We're able to track the departments that it's targeted. So if a department was reorganized and called something different, say 2 administrations ago, we can take that information and bring it forward to 2014 to be able to aggregate and provide trend data. Right now, we can go back as far as 2008 with this data. And you can put in your search term. In this particular example, it represents illegal dumping, which was a huge issue for us not too long ago with the issue of blight. We have installed every ordinance. The timetable for every ordinance in the city of Jacksonville is incorporated in this system. So in this particular example, the Department of Public Works is required to pick up illegal dumping within 7 days, but it goes up to 1,080 days in our particular ordinance, and we have it sliced and diced by council district. Again, we have 19 council districts. And so in this particular example, we can see all 19 council districts represented. on the issue of illegal dumping, and we can see that the Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division has been effectively meeting the statutory or the ordinance deadline of 7 days, and in many cases exceeding it. Giving that kind of information is helpful to respond to the media and other requests as to how the city is doing. We're able to begin to answer that question. Also, providing that information in trend data format helps us during budget time. As you can see in this particular example, in 2008, when we were in better times, when we had 8 crews dealing with this issue, response times went down. As we moved closer to this administration, where we had significant impacts in terms of budget, you see the number of crews have reduced and response times went up. Now we can have the trend data to have the conversation in a metric-based format as to whether it should be a priority for this city to have additional crews to pick up illegal dumping, which means prioritization of other things would have to fall. Another kind of application that we're using in terms of pushing information out is this example, our Jax Parks Finder, which will be announced, in fact, this week. You heard it here first. Jacksonville is the largest city in the continental United States by land mass, 856 square miles, about 875,000 people, and we have a very large park system. So now individuals will be able to type in their particular search term, see what park is near to them, whether it offers camping, kayaking, etc. And so we think this is a good use of GIS information and technology. And then finally, our Jax Analytics Finance Cube. Currently, we're on a green screen mainframe, which means unless you know how to use this particular software, you have no insight into our budget. Well, our IT department, again under our CIO, was able to turn this into a Power Pivot type format using Microsoft Excel. And in this particular example, we have just over $1 billion budget. And that $1 billion budget, we can now use slicing and dicing to get to a particular vendor. In this particular example is Office Depot. The question is, how can you determine how much this particular vendor is receiving from the city? And in this particular example, we can go from $1 billion budget to see $174 in expenditures and $180 in revenue. And so the question might become, why is the Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department receiving $180 worth of revenue from Office Depot? And a further drill down will show you that the inspection division did a fire inspection in 2 different Office Depot locations at $90 each. So the beauty of it is we can go from $1 billion budget to $180 revenue line item and be able to explain that to the public. This is what we would like to push out as we move forward in terms of increasing transparency. And the same in terms of grants, being able to use Control F to type in a portion of the grantee's name will allow you to be able to see the actual name of that grantee, and over whatever period you select, and slicing and dicing over the number of years, we can go back to 2006 and now begin to provide that information. So why is that important? When you talk about issues of homelessness and how much the city is spending on homelessness, nonprofit organizations, etc., we can begin to answer those kinds of questions and share that information with the public. Also, if you're interested in why a particular vendor always appears to be getting all of the contracts, we can isolate that information and really have a conversation about whether they have best practices that other vendors ought to be using, or is there something else going on? Are the RFPs being written in a way where only this vendor is able to be awarded these contracts? And so we believe this kind of information will help shape the way in which we govern, as well as to put more power in the hands of the citizens as we move forward. And also with the dashboarding opportunities we have here, we can find out the top 10 vendors by name, how much they're getting from the city, and we can do it by department, et cetera. So we're really excited about the opportunity to increase the level of transparency in the city of Jacksonville as we move forward. And then again, finally, we just announced last week JaxScore 1.0, which is our forward-facing dashboard. You can Google JaxScore right now and begin to get this information. This primarily is focused on city operations, but as we continue to push this out, we believe it will focus and get more information from other areas of the government. And what you don't see here is a big link for citizen participation. What is it that you'd like to see on this dashboard? What would you like to see measured? And so we think this context of bringing the citizens into the process of how it is that we govern in the city of Jacksonville, as well as training the 5,000 or so team members on being comfortable in releasing this information, will help raise the dialogue on transparency and give the citizen more access to their government. Thank you very much.
Okay, and we now welcome Michelle Brennan, City of Orlando Director of Communications and Neighborhood Relations.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the Lou Frey Institute, Florida Local Government Coalition, and the Florida League of Cities for this opportunity to share some of the City of Orlando's citizen engagement best practices. I do also want to take a moment and recognize one of our city commissioners who's here today, District 2, Commissioner Tony Ortiz. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. So a wise person once told me that when you're presenting to a large group and you are standing between them and lunch, that you should always be brief, be bright, and be gone. So I'm going to do just that. As Director of Communication, I know you appreciate that. Everyone appreciates that. I get it. I get it. As Director of Communications and Neighborhood Relations, I have the opportunity to develop strategies that help connect our city departments and operations to our citizens. From a communications perspective, there has been a significant shift in how we're using technology to increase the ways we inform, connect, and involve our residents. We no longer can just ask the basic who, what, where, and when questions when developing our strategies. We now have to answer the question, how? How are we approaching our outreach efforts? The shift sounds simple because I know a lot of you in this room are using technology as a daily part of your lives, but it's just not that simple. It really isn't. The concept of using technology to increase citizen participation is still somewhat new to city governments, and even though we're all embracing it at different speeds, there is one single common denominator, and that is that we all know that using technology will help benefit our ultimate operations and outreach. Go to the second slide. There we go. So this slide might look familiar to some of you in the audience. And since we have such a mixed group here today, just a quick show of hands. How many of you have actually ever facilitated a meeting where only a handful of residents have ever shown up? Okay, good. And how many of you actually attended a meeting when only a handful of people have shown up? Okay, wonderful. Well, for those of you who raised your hands, I can absolutely relate to you. If you didn't raise your hands, consider yourself lucky. After working with a lot of our departments to hold different public meetings on a variety of topics, I realized that we really needed to do a better job of providing more options for our residents to get involved. I was really starting to become frustrated at the lack of attendance at these meetings. I mean, I just thought everyone was as passionate about city planning as our city planners. They're not. I know, right? Go figure. I figured they were. So I realized that we needed to expand the way we engaged our residents. And what did that mean? It meant change. Oh, that four-letter word, change, that people love. And people welcome it so differently. Support from your leadership is crucial. It's crucial. To have change, you have to have support from the top. It must start at the top. In the city of Orlando, we have that support. We have that support from Mayor Dyer, as well as our wonderful city commissioners. So we needed to do a better job of engaging our residents in topics that directly impacted the quality of their life. And we also knew that we wanted to use technology to help us achieve that goal. These statistics that are up on this slide started to paint a really different picture for us. And the introduction of technology into our outreach efforts was never meant to replace our traditional outreach strategies, but rather to enhance the way we connect our residents to their city government. We needed to start offering our residents choices, and technology helped provide us with those choices. We need to take government to them and not expect that they'll come to government. A very different mindset, and one that must be embraced throughout the entire organization. So here comes the bright part of my presentation. I wanted to highlight just a few of our more recent technology-based initiatives that have helped increase citizen participation. Last year, we introduced Engage Orlando, and this is just a screenshot of our site. This online interactive forum was a first for us, and so we started off a little slow. I mean, we didn't really know what was going to happen when we kind of put it all out there, and it is a little nerve-wracking, especially from a communication standpoint, when you start engaging people in dialogue. Our first project that we used was Greenworks Orlando, which is our city sustainability initiative, and I was going to explain it myself, but I cannot think of a better person to explain what Engage Orlando is all about, other than, of course, Mayor Dyer.
Since 2007, the City of Orlando has worked to become one of the greenest cities in America. Through our Greenworks Orlando initiative, these efforts are producing some great results. Within our own city operations, we've reduced energy consumption by 20%. We've constructed 8 LEED certified buildings, including the award-winning Amway Center. We've provided money-saving energy upgrades to over 1,200 houses. We've increased the number of sidewalks and bike paths, and we've laid the groundwork for alternative transportation options. However, we know that there is much more to be done. To have an even greater impact, we need every citizen and every business to join us in creating a vision for the future of sustainability in our city. So now is your time. We want to hear your ideas on how Orlando can continue to innovate, conserve and protect in areas like the economy, water, transportation, food, green space, livability, and solid waste. Your suggestions could play a key role in helping shape the future of our city's policies. Let's discover what can be done together. With your help, we're on the way to becoming one of the greenest cities in America.
Was that it provided the ability for us to post project-specific questions, but it also allowed our participants to actually post ideas and suggestions and allow people to comment and build on those. There's a couple of, if I could just get that shot back up, there's a couple of great functions to the site as well, which kind of is the what's in it for me side, is our participants, the more you participate, the more points you get, and you can accumulate your points and you can trade them in the reward store, which is always fun because this allows our residents to purchase priceless experiences. Sometimes it's a dinner at one of our fire stations. It could be a behind-the-scenes tour at Lake Eola Fountain. So there are things that you couldn't get anywhere else. So we're trying to kind of get people excited to come to the site and participate. And we're pretty strategic with those rewards because it's another great opportunity for our residents to get connected with our city and help educate them about all the wonderful things that are happening. Some interesting statistics from this, since I said like it was our first project that we worked from Greenworks Orlando. Our city staff posted just about 25 questions that had to do with sustainability. Those 25 questions generated more than 10,000 unique visits to our site. Out of those 10,000 site visits, we had about 428 unique ideas that were generated and more than 1,500 comments on those ideas. Currently, we're using the site to have a conversation about our bike trails. And we've had this conversation up since January. Our staff just kind of got the ball rolling. They have 4 questions posted, like what's your favorite bike trail in Orlando? How do you use our bike trails? Where do you want to see more bike trails? What do you do on our bike trails? Out of those initial conversations, we've had an additional 1,500 visitors to the site, 46 unique ideas, and over 90 comments. And these numbers, I know they're not mind-blowing, but they actually really are. The last public meeting that we held on our bike trails, 20 people, and that included staff. So all of you that work for municipal governments know that usually at a public meeting, at least a quarter of the participants in the room are staff, right? So a lot more people are engaged. The feedback that we're receiving from the city staff and our participants has been really overwhelmingly positive. They're actually using the feedback as part of their planning process and helping develop strategies and policies. Our participants, they love it. They're telling us it's like having a town hall meeting in their living room. That's a pretty good compliment. It was actually a comment that we got. Our average age of the people participating in Engage Orlando is 39, and we're able to actually track postal zip codes so we can see where the conversation's coming from, which is really helpful when we're trying to isolate some conversations to specific areas in our city. Another program that we are rolling out is our iLead, which maybe, there we go, is our iLead. This is our interactive neighborhood training source. One of the main focus areas of our neighborhood relations team is training the over 300 neighborhood association leaders that exist within our city. And historically, that training has happened at conferences, at evening meetings. And what we're finding out is that the task of training has actually become quite a challenge. There's been a decrease in staff. There's been a decline in neighborhood association meetings. And there's also not a whole lot of time to do the training. People want to come into a meeting, they want to get their information, and they want to go. So the days of having 2-hour meetings in the evenings, they don't exist anymore. So we're also seeing this great shift, which is exciting in our next generation of neighborhood leaders. So our next generation, our younger folks are starting to step up to the table. So we need to really recreate our training program to address all these issues. So we decided to use technology to help expand our training options. And basically what we did was we took what we were doing and we were making it accessible 24/7. Again, support from leadership is so important. So we have a quick little video from Mayor Dyer talking about our new iLead program.
Welcome to iLead, and thank you for taking the time to expand your leadership knowledge. My neighborhood relations team created this series of guides, videos, webinars, and workshops to empower you to become a more effective leader. Topics range from effectively holding meetings to utilizing communications tools and engaging the next generation of leaders. I encourage you to use this information to inform, connect, and involve your neighbors. Enjoy the iLead series, your interactive neighborhood training source.
We actually haven't rolled this out yet. I guess you're hearing it first as well. This is like groundbreaking news today. So we'll be rolling this out, but based on the focus group, our test audience that we ran through, everyone is really excited about this product and looking forward to utilizing the training options. Some of the other ways that we've increased our citizen participation, it's not new, but it really is effective. I'm pretty sure probably 100% of the people in this room are engaged with social media. Our city currently is using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Flickr. We've established some operating guidelines on how to leverage these tools as a support function to our other outreach and communication efforts. They are not all-encompassing. They just supplement our existing opportunities. Another great product, too, which is also coming out in the next week, is our website. So you might be thinking, wow, a website, where have you been? We're a little late, actually. Our website is about 10 years old, and it is no longer serving the needs of our residents. So this past year, we have developed a new website. The biggest plug I can make is that it is now responsive. It has a responsive design. So with all the new devices that are coming out, you can actually access cityoforlando.net on any of those. In addition, we're allowed to offer a lot more online services. We're expanding our board training abilities, our permitting, code enforcement, graffiti reporting. So a lot of the online services that were a little antiquated and slow, we are now current, I guess, which is a great thing. So you'll be seeing this website within the next week rolling out as well. The other big shift with our website is when you talk about knowing what's going on and staying connected to your city, is we're really trying to treat our website, and this is a huge shift, in a place where you would go to get your news. So when you wake up in the morning and you go online, and typically maybe you've logged on to the Sentinel or maybe one of the TV station sites to see what's going on, we want you to think of cityoforlando.net. And we want you to think to come there to get your news of what's going on in your city. I'll be polite and just say that some of the information that's shared through other communication vehicles isn't necessarily all-encompassing, so it's beneficial if you have questions about what's going on in your city to go directly to the source. So now I'm going to be gone because I think I've probably taken up more time than I thought. But as I look ahead and kind of think about the possibilities, I'm really energized with the endless opportunities that technology can create as it relates to citizen communication and engagement. My hope is that we will continue to adopt policies that support communication, connectivity, and most importantly, innovation. So for all of those elected leaders out there, I know we have quite a few, I just want to thank you for your leadership and your support. For the staff professionals out there, one of my favorite quotes that I use with my team a lot from Steve Jobs is that quality is much better than quantity. One home run is much better than two doubles. So keep innovating, producing quality products that will continue to serve the needs of our residents. And for all you students out there, I know we have a large group of students, which is always exciting. I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to truly be satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it, keep looking, don't settle. With all matters of the heart, you'll know it when you've found it. Thank you.
And we now welcome the Mayor of Tallahassee, John Marks.
Thank you very much. Well, I know I'm standing between you and lunch, but I want you to just sit tight for a little bit so I can get through this. First of all, I want to tell you about the city of Tallahassee a little bit. The city of Tallahassee, obviously, your capital city, and we are in Leon County. We have about 275,000 or 300 in the county, and we happen to be the smartest city in Leon County. We also happen to be the only city in Leon County. I believe, and I can say safely, I'm being very provocative at this point, I believe we're the smartest city in Florida. Whoa, that's a claim to behold, huh? And I'm going to try and present that to you this morning. I believe we can also lay claim that we're one of the smartest cities in the nation from some of the things that we have done in the city of Tallahassee. So I hope that woke you up, and those of you who are hungry. Now, I gotta say, right now, let me get it on my pad so I can see it a little bit better. Right now, Tallahassee is a leader in technology. Which one is it? Oh, that's it, okay. These are some of the things, if you can you blow that up a little bit, please? This is our smart list in the city of Tallahassee. These are the things that we're doing in the city of Tallahassee that we're using smart technology. That's not all. We have more in the city of Tallahassee where we're utilizing smart technology to do what we need to do, as it is to help our government run more efficiently and more effectively. I'm not going to go down all of those things, but you can see what we're trying to do in the city of Tallahassee in terms of providing the services to our citizens. Now, this was Tallahassee's plan about 2008. I've been mayor for about 4 or 5 years, and I went to my staff, and I can tell us very quickly, and I used to be a public utilities regulator on the Florida Public Service Commission. I always used to get a complaint. And that complaint was, you're not reading my meter right. Common complaint. So what I decided to do is let's see if we can resolve that problem. Citizens making those statements, I said, well, why don't we put the meter in the house? All right, makes sense. So, you can see how much electricity you are using. But nobody can read that thing that's going round and round and round, right? You know how that meter looks on the outside. So what I said, well, why don't we digitize it? Why don't we get something you can put in the house and you digitize it, you can see almost on a real-time basis exactly how much electricity you're using. Well, that led from one thing to another. I went to my vendor, Honeywell. We have Honeywell representatives here. I went from one thing to another, and eventually what that evolved into is what you see up here. Could you blow that up, please? Our smart grid technology. The city of Tallahassee's smart grid technology primarily, and this is what makes us also unique. The city of Tallahassee provides all of the services, all the municipal services that you can think of that is provided by a city. We do not outsource anything. You say it, you name it, we provide it. In-house. We're probably more unique than any other city in the nation in that regard, because right now we provide electric, gas, and water service, and my smart grid technology supports all 3 of those utilities. I doubt that you'll find another city anywhere in the United States that can make that claim. If somebody can, I ask this question all the time, does anybody have that? Can anybody do that? Anybody know of any other city that can do that? No hands. No hands. And I've asked that question, I don't know how many times, to show that we're that unique. Now, so we implemented what was a smart grid program, and this is what, you can read that yourself, and it kind of gives you an idea what smart grid technology is. Smart grid technology is a technology, and that's what the engineers like to show you on what it looks like. And it's an integrated technology that allows us to communicate directly with our citizens on a real-time basis. It tells us a lot of things about our electricity usage and patterns and our citizens and what they can do, and it does a lot of things. And this slide shows you how it is interconnected. Every household is interconnected with the other household and interconnected with our production capabilities and everything. Everybody is interconnected, so rarely do we have any outages because the system is redundant. It's redundant. It is not completely redundant, and everybody is connected to somebody else, and you cannot, very often we don't have very many outages at all in our system as a result of that. Now, that allows us to do a lot of things with our electric system, and I'm gonna focus on the electric system. Oh, well, obviously we can do these things. Current capabilities, time of use rates, support our self-generation. We support our solar panels, solar providers, faster outage direction. We can pay as you go. We're going to have prepaid electricity in your home if you want it. We will have a device in your home that will tell you how much electricity you use and how much it's cost, and I will demonstrate that to you just shortly. These are some of the other applications that we have as well. We have a fleet of electric buses in the city of Tallahassee, one of the largest fleet of electric buses in the nation right now. I think we're now number 2, although we only have 5 electric buses. We have the largest fleet in Florida of electric buses, and we used our power grid system to charge those buses in like 6 minutes. And they go into the station, they charge 6 minutes, and they can drive around the city of Tallahassee for an hour or 2 hours before they have to recharge at another station. This is probably the most advanced, state-of-the-art public safety complex in the, I know I'm saying these things, in the nation. It was we opened it about 6 months ago. It is state-of-the-art, it is advanced, it has more things in it, it just boggles your mind when you go to see our public safety complex. And of course, our smart grid system helps support that facility. And it dispatches for our fire, police, sheriff, and EMS. Everything goes into there, and then they dispatch it to the nearest point, whoever is near that particular place where the problem is located. So that's and it is really state of the art. If anybody would like to see this building, please come and we'll show it to you. We've got people from all over the nation coming to see this technology. This is advanced technology here. Vendor compliance. We had a problem with vendor compliance in the city of Tallahassee. It frankly dealt with our affirmative action program, where it was not being conducted in a manner in which we thought it should be. There were some schemes going on. There were some things people shouldn't be doing with the affirmative action program. So we decided that we would get this particular program, PRISM, and it helps us with compliance in many ways, not only in affirmative action, but as you can see there, with contract compliance, certification, labor, affirmative action, sales concessions, and management and reporting. All that goes into a system where we can get that data, analyze it, and figure out what is happening in our vendor compliance program. This is driven to, obviously, the backbone of this is our smart grid system as well. Now, this is the one that we really like. You've heard about 311 service. We don't have a 311 service in the city of Tallahassee. We have what you call Digitally. It is a platform developed by a company called Public Stuff. Lily, where are you? Lily Lou. Stand up, Lily. You're going to hear from Lily a little bit later. Lily is a developer of public stuff. She came to our city and she brought this application to us. And it is an application that will tell you everything that's happening in the city of Tallahassee and how to address it. It tells you almost anything. It'll show you where, if you want to find a park, you go until Digitally. There is an app. I wish I could demonstrate. Let me see if we get to the next one. All right, that's the dashboard. That is the dashboard for Digitally. And as you can see on there, we have new requests, nearby requests, the city of Tallahassee. What else is up there so I can see it myself? A lot of things over there. And the person, it just so happens, Lily provides the platform, but your city must have the data to feed into that platform. And the person that did this for the city of Tallahassee happens to be here also. Jim Van Riper. Jim, stand up. You can go on Digitally and do almost anything. Let's suppose that you see a pothole in the street. You go to the dashboard that gives you to get you to the pothole, and on that dashboard, GPS system is on there, and at some point in time it'll tell you, well, why don't you take a picture of it? You take a picture of the pothole, and then you press send. That picture goes directly to my public works department, and they know where that pothole is located, and they know that they have a certain number of days to fix that pothole. Not only do they know that, they will send you push notices as to the progress of fixing the problem. Okay? Now, suppose you want to adopt a pet. There is an icon there that you press. You can adopt a pet online if you want to. You press that and it'll show you all of the pets, all of the animals located at our pet pound, located at our Animal Services Center. And if you see a pet that you want, you can actually adopt that pet online. Now, Parks and Recreation. I know that's very important. There is an icon for Parks and Recreation. You press that icon, you go to that icon, it'll tell you where every park is. It'll ask you what you want to do. And if you want to go skateboarding, you press skateboarding, and it will tell you each park that allows that. If you want to play tennis, it'll tell you every park that allows that. And then once you find it, the GPS will locate it and tell you how to get there. This is public stuff. This is what Lily has brought to us and what we're using. Now, also, you can pay your utility bill if you want. You can find out how much it is and everything, all that other stuff, but I like the sexy stuff that's on there. It really demonstrates what we're trying to do in the city of Tallahassee and how we're trying to engage our citizens in the city of Tallahassee and make it easy for them to communicate with us. After all, that's the objective. Communications, that is the objective. How well can you communicate with your city government? This is what we're doing. Now, having done that, and Lily is going to be here today, later on, and Jim Van Riper is going to be here. They really are the ones that know more about this than I do. And they'll be around today in case you want to talk to them. Okay, go back. I think that's Digitally. That is showing you what you can find on Digitally and how you can find it and what I just described. Mobile, well, it's coming. These are some more we're going to put on Digitally pretty soon. Less more. Remember, I started out saying what the problem was, and that is that individuals were telling us, you're not reading my meter right. And that's why I pushed my staff to come up with a solution. It wasn't easy, because when I first started this project, it was typical staff. Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll help you out on this. 6 months later, yes, Mr. Mayor, we're working on it. 6 months later, we have a white paper, Mr. Mayor. So finally, they caught on, and I was using my vendor, and they didn't really catch on to it at first either. And then one day they came into my office, and one of the engineers, I said, you can't tell me you can't have a device that will tell people almost on a real-time basis how much electricity they're using. I said, I don't know how to do it, but it seems to me it's a simple integration problem because the pieces and the parts are out there somewhere. You just have to put them together. Honeywell, those folks, you have to put them together. And eventually they came up with this device, but they said to me, Mr. Mayor, it won't work unless the grid system is in place. And we went further and grid system, we put in a grid system. My grid system is fully deployed to all of my citizens. Everyone has a smart meter. Everyone is interconnected with each other, and everybody can, we can talk back and forth. Now, what that means is this. Where am I? Less More is an application app. What happened with Less More is this. 2 college students at Florida State University, they saw our smart grid program. They came to us and they said, we think we have an app to put on your smart grid. And we said, what is that app? We believe we can give you an app which will allow your citizens to see the cost of their electricity on an hourly basis, a daily basis, or a monthly basis. You understand what I'm saying? If you go online and you're in my city, you can see how much electricity you're using on an hourly basis. You can also see it on your phone, the app. You can see how much you're using on a daily basis. Every day, I get a push notice which tells me the cost of the electricity I used the prior day. That's a price signal. Right now, all of you all get a price signal how often on electricity? Once a month, right? That you cannot, you can try, but you cannot change your behavior in terms of how you use electricity if you get the notice monthly. So what we're doing is giving our citizens an opportunity. That's the way it looks on an hourly basis, if you want to look at it on an hourly basis. This is what it looks like on a daily basis, online, if you go online. That's the way it looks on your telephone. On a daily basis, I get a notice that tells me I've used X amount of electricity and it costs X amount. What can you do with that information? So much. How often, think about it, how often do you get a price signal with regards to gasoline in your car? Constantly. Based on getting that information, what can you do? You can make choices, and that's the whole point. The ability to give end users choices. Let me do one thing and I'll quit, I'll stop. To really demonstrate this. Let's suppose that Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison somehow were to be right here. Okay? Let's assume that. And you go to Mr. Bell and you say to Mr. Bell, what is that? What would he say? I said, Mr. Bell, that's a telephone. And Mr. Bell would say, no, it's not. That's not a telephone. Where are the wires? Where's the crank? How can this is? I said, not only is this a telephone, Mr. Bell, this can be a TV. It can send messages, and Mr. Bell would not know it at all. Right? You correct? Thomas Edison. Mr. Edison, what is that? Well, a light bulb. That's exactly what he would say. He would look at it, he will say, well, it looks a little bit different. But, you know, that's that incandescent light bulb that I invented 150 years ago. And it's not too much different. The point is this. The point I'm trying to make is a simple one. The telecommunications industry has changed significantly over the years. The electric industry has not. Even the way they price your services is the same way they priced it 150 years ago. Each one of you in your house, everybody in your house, you pay the same rate. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you use electricity the same way? So why should a college student with 750 square feet pay the same thing that an individual with a 4,000 square foot house? The smart grid program, the smart grid technology would allow us and allow you to have that kind of technology, and I'm getting in the hook. But anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
How can we keep some of the local government experiences in person and still use technology for others? How do we strike that balance with our citizens?
That is a tough one because, you know, I like face-to-face meetings with my citizenry. But in order to reach a larger audience, we have to have these kinds of applications, this kind of technology that I just demonstrated. And I believe that that kind of engagement, that both are very vital, of course. Both are extremely vital, but if you can use the technology to interact with your citizens more efficiently and effectively, I would suggest that you do as much of it as you can. The fact of the matter is, it's coming, it's going to happen, you might as well embrace it.
Great. Another question, are each of you measuring the success of your mobile applications?
Well, you saw the applications that we have in the city of Tallahassee. And I'm very proud of what my technology office has done in terms of providing that. It was a challenge, and we still have a long ways to go as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to continue to develop the applications, the apps, and the technology to help us communicate better and relate better to our citizens. So that's what we're trying to do.
Another question we had was for the students in the room that are interested in possibly having an internship with a local government, especially on a technology program, what process would they follow? What's some best practices they can do or maybe start thinking about now to explore that?
Go ahead.
In the city of Jacksonville, we offer a number of opportunities, and in fact, we have some legislation before our city council to expand that. But if your local university has an internship program, certainly you ought to connect to the mayor's office or your district council person to get access to that information. You can go online, certainly, to get access to that, but we run a wide variety of internship programs through our local universities as well as directly with our offices.
We do much the same thing. We contact the office of the mayor, contact the office of the city manager, and find out what's available. And I don't know, Jim, do we have some in? We have several in our office. I'm just getting a signal here from Mr. Van Riper that we do have some internship programs in our office in Tallahassee.
As well, in the city of Orlando, we have currently 4 interns in my office right now, and we love to get interns from our hometown university, UCF, so we actually have a lot of UCF interns working with the city of Orlando.
Yeah, now that I think about it, we do get a lot of interns from Florida State University to come and work in our office on a volunteer basis sometimes just to get the experience. We do.
My question is, how do you guys adjust to because technology is always advancing so rapidly nowadays. So how do you guys adjust to the technology? Because when you go to implement it, usually it becomes obsolete or it's not as good as it was originally planned to be.
Just the way anybody else does. It's tough. You know, obsolescence is going to happen. You're trying to get the best technology that can last as long as it possibly can, and then when something new comes out, you go. You try and do the best you can to integrate it into the current system that you have. That's the only way you can do it. You're right, it's turning over quickly, exponentially.
And that's probably a good way to close this panel. I will say that nobody is an expert in the new technologies for very long because the technology is changing on an ongoing basis, and that's something we have something to look forward to. Thank you for our wonderful leaders here for telling us how they're using today's technology